that women are just out here. No, it's normally with their partner, their parent, or even their person of faith.
So those are your personal. So as a representative, where do you fall on this? Any restrictions?
I don't know if when you say restrictions, as far as, are you talking, I have to ask.
People are wanting to put a timeline,
Oh, timelines.
How many weeks up until, I mean, that's what people are arguing
Right, their
about.
big argument. And I'll say politically, I'm going to trust science on that. And there has been science, and I'm also a health and wellness major, so I'm trying to answer this just from a more complete look at it. And when you look at that, there is a time when the nervous system has been, when we know that embryo or a fetus, when it moves from the fetus to the embryo, that it may feel pain. But we're going to have to trust doctors on that and really know it's not just, hey, you shouldn't have an abortion ever. Hey, you shouldn't have it at 6 weeks. Hey, you shouldn't do this. We really want to make sure that we're trusting science, we're listening to women, and any legislation that I was to agree on, I want to make sure that that's what I'm doing. I'm not taking what I think or how many weeks I think I should be. So, of course, all rights have responsibility, right? So, but we want to make sure that access to women is open, that they have.
So when is that time?
I don't know. There is a complete time. I know that I've heard 6 weeks, I've heard 8 weeks, but at the same time, what about a mother who may be 6 months pregnant and she's in a car accident and there has to be a decision made? So do we say, hey, I'm sorry, at 6 months of pregnancy, now that we think that the baby may be brain damaged and you might possibly die if we don't do this life-saving abortion? That's the problem I have with restrictions, because restrictions say every case is the same. So I don't know restrictions. I'm going to say it depends on the case. What about someone like my mom who was pregnant and had a miscarriage? So you're going to say she can't have a D&C? Well, that's part of abortion. So do we say, hey, just figure it out yourself? We really have to be, when we're talking about abortion care, be specific in what we're talking about and make sure that what are you talking? I mean, it's just me. I can't. It's very hard to put.
The reason I keep asking is you got to put something on paper if it, becomes law. And Republicans are going to say,
right,
well, Democrats are wishy-washy. They don't want to commit. They don't want to answer that question.
Right. That is a hard question for me, and I'm just going to be honest, because we're saying we trust women, and you're asking me to sign on legislation. I would have a hard time signing anything in which it would restrict women to abortion care. I really think that if her doctor and her have decided that if she has to have an abortion because of her health care at 7 months, that's something between her and her doctor, whether or not she decides to do that. I really believe that, and I don't think as a politician or someone that's elected that it's my job to restrict people's access to health care. And I have a big problem putting a time limit on that, and I'm not wishy-washy. I believe 100% that when it comes to health care, it's your right, and that means your right has to be accessible for you to have that right. So just cutting off at a certain time, 6 months, 6 weeks, 6 days, at what point do we say that we're actually then not restricting? All of those are restriction to people and their rights and their autonomy over their body.
So if elected, you're going to, and you are working with a bunch of Republicans. Are you
I will be. I mean, we know that. I mean, we have to. We're going to have to meet in the middle here and work, not across the aisle, but meet in the middle. But go ahead with your question.
So you're willing to compromise on this issue with the Republicans?
To a point. I also am a female. I also have a mother. I also have a daughter. And I also have a whole district full of women who are going to meet to listen to what they have as their representative. So if I have to hold a forum to sit down and talk with women in my district, if I have to go to YWCA and I have to do things within my district to understand or contact with physicians or nurses, then I'm going to do that. I'm not going to sign off on anything if I haven't talked to the people that it affects. And when we talk about health care, we have to be very careful about who we restrict and who we don't allow access based upon what we think is morally right or wrong. My job is to be the voice of the people. And even if that means taking the extra time to set up forums to listen to people, that's what I'm going to do.
Okay, almost finished, I promise. So I was looking online, and I want to make sure I get this right, because it's been a few years since I have my reporter hat on. Is your opponent out fundraising you?
We have a very competitive race. He gave us, well, let me say this. He outloaned himself. So he was able to give himself an $80,000 loan. So he has not outraised me. I've actually been out every dollar, every dime I've raised has been from working class people or workers who have come together and put their money together to support a candidate. So he has not outraised me. He has been able to give himself a loan. And for me, that loan is my pension, which I can't take money away because one day I do have to retire. That money is how I help my daughter go to college. That money is how I help my mother, who is 75 years old. So I can't give myself an $80,000 loan. But what I can do is give myself 80,000 steps. So he may have outraised me by giving himself a loan, but he has not outworked me. And when it comes down to what we believe in this district, in District 42, and when it comes to the ethics and the work ethic I have, you can have all the money in the world, but guess what? There'll be no David without Goliath. And Goliath was able to defeat a giant with a pebble. So I'm not afraid, and I'm excited to be able to be the voice of people. And they have to believe that I have the strength, have the might, and I'm not looking at my opponent as someone that can defeat me, but how am I going to defeat him?
And even though that the Roe decision was celebrated by conservatives and Republicans, do you feel like that was a gift to Democrats politically?
If we do something with it. I think right now in the political world, we're like, that's why we're so divided. We're like, hey, win for us, win for us. Where are the people? So if you say, how do I feel about that? It is a win for Democrats and democracy because we're able to have a real conversation about a right that has been taken away. So it is a win. I think it's definitely going to make a big difference in me winning my district because women, no matter how they affiliate as a party, don't want their rights taken away. And there's more people in the middle than there are on the fringes. There's more moderate people like myself than there are progressive or conservative. Most of us are right here.
You think you can turn some independents and Republicans on this issue?
We have already. We've knocked on those doors already, and we've had women say, thank you, and close the door. And it's that secret language with women where we look at each other.
Republican women.
Yes, Republican women, and they've understood. I was talking to one woman, and she came up, she took my stuff, and her husband came behind her, and she said, thank you, and she went. So it doesn't matter what it looks like out here. It's going to matter in that booth, and it's proverbial booth because it's not like when I went with my mom, but it matters what people actually, their action they take upon their personal beliefs. And at the end of the day, that is what's going to decide this. Either which opponent, who's going to win this district. Either someone that believes in workers, women, civil rights and voter rights, or someone that's pinned bills against everything, including protecting firefighters from cancer-causing agents, written bills against women having abortion access. He has a record. It's there. I have a record also with my community service and all I'm involved with. And what matters, again, is knocking doors, talking to people, and making those connections, and making sure, even as a union president, I have to sit up in front of my membership and I have to be accountable and transparent. I know how to do that. I know how to listen, and I know that I don't know everyone or how they feel. But you know what? You take time and you listen. And that's what we've been missing as far as candidates, and that's where we're going to start to turn the tide. And so when you ask me that question, I think where we're going to see this time is women candidates across the state be elected to be the voice of women.
This is the time for women.
This is the time for overall, you can say Democrats who have most of the women there, you can say Republicans or Independents, we're going to say this is the time for women who want to fight for women. That's the change we're going to see this time in the election, and that's what I'm excited about. So maybe when we say David and Goliath, maybe I should be Davina or something, but I'm excited. I'm excited to show up and be that person that carries forward women's rights and where we're headed in the future.
Anything else you'd like to add?
If you'd like to learn more about me, you can go to my website. It's Erika with a K because I'm German, so it's ERIKA for FOR Ohio OHIO.org. Love to hear your thoughts, and I hope that voters will know one thing, that you have my commitment to be transparent and accountable, and I do that already, and that I am not comfortable with signing anything that takes away people's rights or making sure that there's some responsibility to those rights. All rights have responsibility, but making sure that I listen to the people in my district.
Anything else?
I don't know. Should I say anything else?
Let me get a two-shot real quick, and then
okay,
I will
be
out of your hair.
Else, oh yeah, let me say. I should say that, shouldn't I?
Okay, give me just a second.
I should say that.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. And of course, District 42, these boots were made for working and representing you. I love it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it, guys. All right, thank you so much.
Yeah, you were great. Thank you.